What would you do if a cop pulled in behind you at night and walked up before you even touched your wallet? If you move too fast, talk too much, or step out too early, you can turn a normal stop into a legal ambush in seconds. And once your own words open that door, it gets very hard to close it. Hit subscribe right now, because what I'm about to show you could save you from a bad stop, a bad search, or a bad arrest. Like this video now, so you can find it fast the night you actually need it. Most people have no idea how fast a quiet night can flip on them. You're sitting there, your heart jumps, the lights hit your mirrors, the officer steps out, and your brain starts yelling at you to do something right now. That's where people mess up. They reach, they talk, they explain, they even get out of the car trying to look helpful. Big mistake. Let me show you exactly what matters in the first few seconds. What words shut down phishing questions, what line blocks consent searches, and what question ends the stop when the real reason is over. You're also going to hear the court rulings behind this in plain English, so you know this is not internet fantasy. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. If you learn this now, you won't have to guess later when your hands are shaking and your brain goes blank. Here's the reality. You do not get in trouble only because of what cops find. You also get in trouble because of what you hand them for free. You hand them fear. You hand them movement. You hand them nervous chatter. You hand them consent. And then you wonder why a simple stop turned into 20 extra minutes on the roadside. At night, everything feels bigger. Every movement looks worse. Every joke lands wrong. Every lie sounds thinner. So your goal is not to win an argument. Your goal is to slow the whole thing down, stay boring, and stop feeding the stop. You want calm hands, clean words, and zero extra help from you. Former police officers have confirmed this works. The safer and more predictable you look, the less room there is for your own behavior to become the story. The first thing you do is freeze the chaos and make your hands impossible to misunderstand. If it's dark, turn on your interior light. Keep your seatbelt on. Put both hands high on the wheel where the officer can see them. Do not start digging in the glove box. Do not lean into the center console. Do not hop out to explain. You look at the officer and say this: "Officer, my hands are on the wheel. Before I reach for anything, tell me what you want me to do." Word for word. Memorize that line. That line works because you're taking the biggest danger off the table first. The officer does not know you. The officer sees a car, a shadow, and movement. That's it. When you say your hands are on the wheel and ask for instructions before you move, you cut the tension hard. You show control. You show respect without giving away your rights. And you keep your own body from doing dumb panic stuff. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Hang on, let me grab my stuff," and start digging around. And then the officer sees movement, gets tense, and the whole stop turns sharp. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, my hands are on the wheel. Before I reach for anything, tell me what you want me to do." Then the officer controls the movement and you stop the fear spike before it starts. Let me make this simple. You're not refusing basic instructions. You're asking for safe instructions before you move. That matters. If the officer says, "Get your license," you can say, "My wallet is in my back pocket." Is it okay if I reach now? If your insurance is in the glove box, say that first. Narrate your movement. Keep it slow. Keep it boring. And if the officer orders you out, do not argue on the roadside. Pennsylvania v. Mims says an officer can order a driver out during a lawful traffic stop. Plain English, if the stop is legal, the officer has a lot of control over where you stand. So do not turn that into a pride contest. Your protection is calm compliance, not roadside debate. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. You can comply with lawful movement orders and still protect your rights the whole time. Here's what happens if you skip this step. You fumble for your registration. Your shoulder dips. Your right hand disappears. The officer stiffens up. Maybe now the flashlight is in your face. Maybe now the voice gets louder. Maybe now you're getting told to put both hands back where they can be seen. The stop feels worse because you made it feel dangerous. That doesn't mean you did a crime. It means you triggered fear. And fear changes everything. Now the good outcome. You turn the light on, your hands stay visible, you use one clean sentence. The officer sees a driver who is not making sudden moves. That lowers the heat. That gives you room to think. And when you can think, you make better choices for the next part, which is where most people really lose. Think you could stay that calm during a real stop? Tell me in the comments. Still watching? Good. Drop a like if this already changed how you'd handle tonight. The next move is where you shut down the search game before it starts. Listen closely because this is critical. So many drivers think they have to sound nice, cooperative, and innocent. So when the officer says, "You mind if I take a look?" They smile and say, "Yeah, sure, I guess." That one little yes can wreck you. Because once you consent, you make the search much harder to fight later. Here's exactly what you say. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Word for word. Keep your voice calm. Keep your face neutral. Do not ramble after it. This is 100% legal. You are allowed to say no to consent searches. You're not fighting. You're not resisting. You're not being rude. You're simply refusing permission. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it is clean, clear, and hard to twist. Bad way. Most drivers say, I don't have anything, so go ahead. Then the officer searches the car, opens containers, and finds something you forgot was even there. Good way. Smart drivers say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then you keep your rights intact, and the officer has to rely on legal grounds that do not come from your permission. Watch what happens when you say it the wrong way. If you say, I'd rather you didn't, that sounds soft. If you say, why did I do something wrong? That opens a whole new conversation. If you say, I guess so, you just gave consent. Your best answer is short, clean, final. Ohio v. Robinette matters here. In that case, the Supreme Court said officers do not have to tell you that you are free to go before asking for consent to search. Plain English, the officer does not have to warn you that a request is optional. So if you're waiting for some magic sentence like, you can say no, do not wait. Say no yourself. Florida v. Bostick also matters. The court focused on whether a person would feel free to refuse or end the encounter. Plain English? The law cares a lot about whether your yes was truly voluntary. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection. If you do not want a consent search, say it clearly. Here's the reality. A lot of roadside searches happen because drivers talk themselves into them. They think saying yes will make the officer nicer. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does not. But nice is not the same as safe. If the officer already has legal cause to search, your consent changes nothing for the better. Or if the officer does not have legal cause, your consent just built the bridge for them. And there's another trap. The officer may ask in a casual voice, you don't mind if I take a quick look, right? That word quick is bait. Quick can become a full search. Your answer stays the same. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Then shut up. No extra speech. No story about how clean your car is. No nervous laugh. Your silence after the line is part of the line. The third tactic is the one that ends the fishing trip when the traffic part is done. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. Once the reason for the stop is handled, you do not have to stand there forever while the officer keeps trying new angles, unless there is real legal reason to hold you longer. So when your license comes back, and the warning or ticket is done, and the conversation keeps drifting, you ask one question. Officer, am I being detained, or am I free to leave? Those exact words. Say them calmly, not angry, not sarcastic. Calm. This is 100% legal. You are asking for status. That's it. You are forcing clarity. Are you still being lawfully held, or is this now a voluntary chat that you can end? Bad way. Most drivers say, sure, I can answer a few more questions after the warning is already done. Then the stop drags on, the questions get deeper, and the officer keeps fishing. Good way. Smart drivers say, officer, am I being detained, or am I free to leave? Then the officer has to either let you go or explain the legal reason you are still being held. Rodriguez v. United States is huge here. The Supreme Court said police cannot extend a traffic stop beyond the time needed to handle the traffic issue just to do extra investigation, unless they have real suspicion of another crime. Plain English, they cannot turn a brake light stop into a mini criminal investigation just because they feel like it. The mission of the stop is the traffic issue. When that mission is done, the clock is done too, unless something real changed. Watch what happens when you use this question at the right time. If the stop is basically over, that question forces the moment. If the officer says you're free to go, leave. Do not stay and keep talking. If the officer says you're detained, now the officer is owning that decision out loud. That matters. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. And remember Robinette again. Officers do not have to volunteer. You're free to go before they ask for consent or more questions. So do not wait for that gift. Ask the question yourself. Let me say it again because this one is pure gold. Officer, am I being detained or am I free to leave? You are not being difficult. You are drawing a legal line in a calm voice. Now maybe the officer says, why are you in such a hurry? Do not bite. Maybe the officer says, if you've got nothing to hide, why not stay and talk? Do not bite. Your answer is the question. Or if the officer says you're free to go, you say, thank you, have a safe night, and you leave. You do not stand there trying to prove you're a nice person. Nice people get talked into searches every day. Most people already clicked away. If you're still here, you're in the top 10%. Drop a comment saying I'm still here because this next part is where your own mouth can sink you fast. The fourth tactic is simple, but it saves you from the sneaky part of the stop. Stop explaining your night. Officers often ask questions that sound casual. Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? Have you had anything to drink? Whose car is this? Is there anything illegal in the vehicle? People hear small talk, but your answers can build suspicion piece by piece. So your line is this. I'm not discussing my day. Or if you want it even shorter, I'm not answering questions. Pick one. Practice it now. That does not mean you refuse to hand over your license, registration, or insurance where the law requires it. You still handle the basic traffic stop stuff, but you do not become the star witness against yourself. Bad way. Most drivers say, I'm coming from my friend's place. I had 1 beer hours ago and the car is my cousin's. Then the officer has 3 new doors to push open. Good way. Smart drivers say, I'm not discussing my day. Then the officer gets less free material and you stop building the case with your own mouth. Berkham v. McCarty is the reason this matters. Plain English. A lot of roadside questioning happens before Miranda warnings and your answers can still be used. So if you're waiting for the famous TV speech before you stop talking, you are waiting too long. That is why you keep your words tight. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. You do not need to sound clever. You do not need a speech. You need a script. Your stress will rise. Your memory will drop. So keep your lines short enough to use under pressure. My hands are on the wheel. I do not consent to any searches. Am I being detained or am I free to leave? I'm not discussing my day. That's your shield. Here's the reality in plain English. MIMS means the officer can control where you stand during a lawful stop, so you do not argue movement orders on the roadside. Rodriguez means the stop cannot drag on for extra investigation once the traffic mission is done, unless there is real suspicion based on facts. Robinette means the officer does not have to tell you that you are free to go before asking for consent, so you must protect yourself by asking and by refusing clearly. And Berkhammer teaches you one more painful truth. Your roadside answers can hurt you even before any Miranda warning shows up. That is why these tactics fit together. You stay calm. You control your movement. You do not give consent. You do not volunteer your life story. And you ask if you are free to leave when the traffic part is over. Let me show you exactly how this sounds in real life. You're parked on a dark side street checking your phone. A patrol car rolls in behind you. Lights come on. Your heart starts pounding. The wrong way is what most people do. You throw the door open. You start saying, Officer, I'm just here for 1 second. I didn't do anything. My wallet is somewhere in here. Now your hand is diving between the seats. Your body is twisting. The officer is already on edge. Then comes, where are you coming from? You answer, my buddy's house. Had anything to drink? You answer that too. Then comes, mind if I take a look inside? And because you want this over, you say yes. Now your whole night is open. Now the right way. You turn on the dome light. Both hands go high on the wheel. The window comes down enough to talk. You say, Officer, my hands are on the wheel. Before I reach for anything, tell me what you want me to do. The officer asks for your license. You say where it is before you move. You hand it over slowly. Then the questions start. Where are you coming from tonight? You answer, I'm not discussing my day. The officer asks to look in the car. You say, Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Calm voice, no attitude. Then the warning is written. The paperwork comes back. But the officer keeps chatting. That's when you ask, am I being detained or am I free to leave? If you're free to leave, you leave. If you're detained, you stop volunteering anything. Same stop, same night, totally different outcome because you stayed calm and used a script instead of your panic. Next week, I'm revealing what to say when cops claim they smell weed. Subscribe right now so you don't miss that one because that line gets people searched every single day. So lock this in. First, make your hands visible and ask for instructions before you move. That protects you from the fear spike that makes stops go bad fast. Second, if they ask to search, use the clean line. I do not consent to any searches. Third, once the traffic business is done, ask, am I being detained or am I free to leave? And fourth, stop explaining your night. Your own words are often the real ambush. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Calm body, short script, no consent, no extra story. That combination gives you the best shot at getting through the stop without helping build a case against yourself. Hit subscribe so you catch next week's video on the smell of weed trick. Smash that like button if this just made you safer on your next stop. And drop a comment telling me which line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe out there.